Hi there, this is Linda, and I'm back to work on days 14, 15, and 16 in my 2023 December daily album. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, guys, so I'm going to be real with you. It is December 22nd, and I have not touched this album in a bit. This is the last spread I did was the 12th and the 13th. So now we're on the 14th, so I'm a little bit behind. I want to show you, so yesterday, because I was behind, but I'm behind, but I have ideas, and I think it will come together quickly. So yesterday in my Hobonichi Cousin, and this is my daily journal and planner, and I have a ton of videos about this if this is something you're curious about. So I will link my most recent one up at the eye. But in my planner here, or my journaling for yesterday, I sketched out days 14 through 21 because I think I can catch this up pretty quickly. I have foundation pages. I have a loose idea of what I want to do. I don't think this is going to take too long. So the ones I'm going to work on right now are 14, 15, and 16, which I think are going to come together really easily. So day 14, I have this foundation page, which I created back in September for my blog feature on the Ellie Edwards blog. And I have links to all of those down below in the description box. And so for this one, what I originally had done was I created these using the ornament pockets, and I made little flip ups for each person in my family. So this is me, my daughter, and my cat. So I wanted to tell a story about each of us this year. When I created this foundation page, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know if I was going to do like a day in the life or something. But what I ended up doing was I found that this photo of my cat, and I decided to do bringing comfort this year. So I'm going to put a 14 on here and adhere this on the back of this pocket from day 13, simply because I don't really like the way that looks. So I want to cover it up. And then I'm going to fill each of these in with things that are bringing each of us comfort this year. I can clearly fill it in for my cat, and I'm gonna have my daughter write in hers. So I'm gonna leave it blank on this video, but hopefully I will have that done before I take my project photos. Day 15, I hung out with my friend Jen, which we had originally planned to do like day 8, but she was sick, so we had to reschedule it. And so that was fine. What I ended up having in here as a foundation page for day 15, not knowing what the story was going to be, was this So Much Joy and this circle with the thought that I could put these on top of a photo. So I printed out this full page photo of our lunches, and I'm thinking I'm going to put this on top and kind of do some like circle layering to the journaling. And then I have this photo of us, and then probably another one or two with some embellishments. Let's see. I forgot to mention, I have my advent calendar still. So for day 14 is this wreath. I don't think I'm going to use that on here because I don't think that it works for that page, but I could actually see using it on day 15. So we'll see. Day 15 were these stickers, which I actually used some to wrap some gifts. So I'm not sure if I will use these on day 15 or not, but they are a good basic for my stash. And then moving into day 16, oops, that's too far. So for day 16, I have this transparency in here, which I just want to use to separate 15 and 16. And I might add something on here or something just because this is going to be a full page photo also. But day 16, we baked our cookies. So what I did was I created this photo, or I took this photo of all of the cookies lined up on my table. And I'm going to crop this, and then I'm thinking I'm gonna put some like hearts here. I'm thinking like these large plastic hearts might hold some journaling. I don't think I'm gonna do any journaling really besides just to say Christmas cookie baking day or something like that, because there's not really a longer story that I want to tell about the cookie baking day this year. We did switch up some of the cookies that we made this year, but you can see that from the photo. And I think that's pretty much all I want to do with it. I think this joy is going to stay here, but I might pull out a different one. I did sketch it in just because I don't know if I love it over this, but I do want something to break up the two full page photos. So that is my plan. Oh, and then for the advent calendar, there was this heart, which I think is perfect because I'm going to do hearts. So I will pretty much, you could probably use that on day 16. Okay, so that's my plan. I'm gonna go ahead and put you guys on fast forward and start putting these spreads together. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is crop out all of my photos. What I've been doing with this project, and I kind of talked about it a bit in the beginning and possibly in some of my other videos, is I'm doing something that I call batch processing, and that helps me to get the project done more quickly. So what I'm doing is I'm working on days 14, 15, and 16 kind of all at once. So here you can see I'm kind of laying out day 15 and cutting out all of the photos, and then I'm going to put 15 and 16 to the side and go back and finish 14. So day 14, I had this foundation page that I talked about in the beginning, which was almost entirely done. So there's really not a ton for me to do. I decided I wanted to cover up the back of the pocket from day 13. So I had printed out this photo, and that writing on the photo I did on my iPad using my Apple Pencil and the Procreate app. And then I added a little bit of typed text on there as well, and in Photoshop. And now I selected a number for the 14, and I was just kind of trying to decide different things that I wanted to add, if I wanted to add any embellishments, and I decided not to. So what I'm doing now is working on my journaling. So what I wanted to do was on the inside of each of these flip ups, I'm going to journal about things bringing each of us comfort right now. But I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to use to journal. I could have just used a normal black pen, but I kind of wanted to use a marker. And looking back on it, I'm not sure I love the colors that I end up going with. I think I would have preferred maybe just like a black or a gray marker, or even like a brown to match the background. But what I end up doing is a combination of red and green markers, just to bring a little bit of like fun and Christmassiness to the spread. So I do the journaling for both me and Pumpkin. And then for Summers, I do set up the like prompt piece, but I'm going to let her do the writing in there herself. And I'm not going to end up sharing what she writes on the internet, but I'm very happy to have her handwriting in my album in addition to her thoughts. So I'm just alternating between the two different colors. For mine, I alternate from a light green and a dark green, and from Pumpkins, I do a red and a green, just to kind of do a list of various things that are bringing us comfort during the current season. So some of them are holiday related, others are not. For Pumpkin, it's mostly not holiday related, but just different things about this season that we're currently in that are bringing us comfort. So for example, for Pumpkin, it's laying by the fire, which you can see in that photo, which is the only photo that I included on this spread. I didn't really pre-plan what I was going to write or plan out what I was going to write. I just kind of was writing as I thought of things, and then I just kind of stop when I get to the end. So I probably could have kept going and come up with more items. For Pumpkin, I was kind of struggling a little bit to come up with things that he loves right now, because I was trying to do some things that are bringing him comfort this season. So not things that he always has liked and always likes. So just like certain things that are in this current season. He clearly knew I was scrapbooking about him because he had to come check it out himself, you saw. And he does make a few appearances in this video, so stick around to try to catch those. So now I'm working on this one, which was day 15. And for day 15, I went out to lunch with my friend who is also a crafter and a YouTuber. And we got lunch and we chatted a bit about crafting, and we went to some shops, and it was just so much fun. So for this foundation page, I had this so much joy, and I had planned to crop it out and put it on top of a photo, which is what I'm doing here. I used my large circle punch on it, which is a 3.5-inch circle. It did not crop it well. So the edges got a little messed up. I had to fix them with my pen, but it ends up being okay in the end. On this circle here, I decided I wanted to do my journaling. And again, I decided to do a marker. I guess I was feeling markers this day. And I think I wanted to do handwritten journalings because it was simpler and more personal, but I didn't want to write a ton. So I decided to hand letter my friend's name, Jen, and then do a little bit of quick journaling about the day. and I'm going to just include that on there. I think I talked about this a little bit in the beginning of the video, but this photo has all of these circles on it. So I wanted to just kind of stick with that theme and put circles all over the page. I want to put this photo of me and Jen that is also punched out in a circle on the page. But when I laid it on top of it, I didn't love the way it looked because it was kind of blended into the background. So I decided I'm going to mount it on this paper. So I punched out a slightly larger circle, and I'm going to use that as a backer for my photo, just to add a little bit of a buffer between the two photos. And I think that works much better. I'm pulling out this circle, and it's like a gold rim circle from, I don't know if it was in the main kit, but it was in one of the collections. And then I added the 15 on top of it. And that is, my collection of circles. So I'm going back to this So Much Joy transparency, and I love how it looks on top of the photo, but the edges were very rough because of the way I punched it out, and I felt like it just needed something else. So what I decided to do was stitch it down. So I used my punch tool or my paper piercer tool to poke holes on top of the circle, both on the edge of the circle and right on the outside of the circle. And I'm just going to use some embroidery floss. And embroidery floss comes with 6 strands in it. So I just split it so I only have 3 strands at a time. And I'm using that to just stitch down the transparent circle. Now the circle, I had already adhered it with a small piece of red line tape, so it wasn't going to move, but the stitching is really just going to hold it in place and is partially decorative, but it will extra secure it so it's not going to fall off. I did put this on super fast forward for this portion, so it might be a little dizzying to watch me stitch it, but otherwise we would be sitting here for a very long time because this is a time-consuming process. I had a TV show on at the time while I was working on it, and I just kind of sat down and enjoyed this process. So although I am streamlining putting my project together, I am still enjoying the process and allowing myself to savor these moments and just enjoy it, even if it does take a little bit longer to do something like stitching it down. So that wrapped up the page. I'm just going to crop off everything that hangs off the edge and then adhere it back to back with day 14. So I do need to punch the holes again on day 15, but I'm not going to do it till I adhere it first and just trim it down. And that way I'm just going to punch the holes in the exact same spot that they were already punched out for 14. So I don't have to worry about lining up the holes when I adhere them back to back. So that is now 14 and 15 are completed. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into my album. And then I'm going to switch gears for a little bit and work on my sampler page. So my sampler page, I had not put day 13 on it in my last video because I decided I wanted to include a photo. So I printed out a smaller photo of one of the ornaments from my day 13 project. And if you haven't seen my day 13, I do have a YouTube video about that. And I will link that up at the eye in case you want to see that one. So for day 13, I just adhered the photo and punched out using my single hole punch where the number would be. And then moving on to day 14, I used the same pattern paper that was in the background of the ornaments. And then I went and grabbed this alpha sheet that I used for the alphas for everyone's name. And I just pulled an A, and the A has no real significance. I just wanted to have a letter on there. I struggled a little bit with what to do for day 15 because 14 and day 9, which is directly above, or day 10, which is directly above day 14, or day 15, that I'm working on now, both have like a solid pattern paper in the background. So I didn't want to do another solid background paper. So what I decided to do was I punched a half circle of background paper. That was the paper that was used behind the photo of me and Jen. And then I mirrored my stitching pattern and stitched it down again so that it would mirror the stitching that I did on day 15. Now I'm moving on to day 16, and I will add day 16 onto the sampler page at the end. So I decided that I didn't want to stick with that joy transparency because I didn't like the brown on brown. of my table, but I went through the other transparencies and I ended up settling on this Mary one because I really liked the way that the text was on the Joy one and I didn't want to lose that. And this one has just a darker text, so it's much bolder and looks really great on top of the photo. Then I layered 2 of the large plastic hearts that were an add-on this year and the Fa La La heart that was from the advent calendar for day 16. And I'm just creating a row of hearts next to my row of cookies. So I really wanted to just keep this one simple. I originally had thought about adding a longer journaling on top of the table here. And if you had a story that was similar to this, but you wanted to include longer journaling, I definitely could have done that either by typing it directly on the photo, or I could have typed it on a white cardstock and cropped it into a rectangle and put it where these hearts are. But I didn't want to include long journaling this day. So instead, I just decided to add the words Cookie Day. So I used these gold alphas to add Cookie Day on top of this heart. And then I added one of the word phrase strips slightly behind it a little bit just to add a little bit of embellishment. And then I'm adhering these down with red line tape, primarily because they are outside the page protector. So I really want to make sure that they're not going to fall off. But I also, the rolling adhesive that I use just doesn't seem to work on the plastic material of these hearts. So when you kind of try to roll it on it, it won't come out. Red line tape is just kind of my go-to for something like these plastic hearts. Next, I decided I needed my number, and I originally went through my number bags, but I decided I didn't like any of the numbers in there, and instead I ended up using some of the gold letters that match the letters that I use for Cookie Day, and I put a gold 16 on my star cookie, which I love how that came out. I think that's my favorite so far of all of the numbers. So now I decided I wanted to add something to this transparency, and I was thinking of adding like a lining of ribbon or something, and I decided against it, partially because my album is already getting kind of chunky, and I also didn't want it to break up the photo behind it that much. So I instead added a little tab on there and stapled it in place just so that there's a little bit more of an indication that you're supposed to flip this page separately from the photo and look at the hearts behind it. So that wraps up day 16 in my album. The last thing I have to do is to put that in on my sampler page here. So I wanted to put a heart on here, and I originally thought of the plastic hearts from an older year, but you saw me try it there and it was just too big to crop it down where you could even tell it was still a heart. So instead I added this sticker, and I added an ampersand from the gold alphas and called it good. I added a word phrase strip, and then I called it good. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys in the next one. And if you're watching this right as I uploaded it, this is my final video for 2023. I want to thank everyone for supporting my channel this year so much. And I hope to see you guys all in 2024. Bye.